Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey parents, Mr. Bergmann here. I am so excited. I get to be your kid's science teacher this year, and I thought I'd make a short introductory video, introduce myself, and kind of what I believe about education. And my class is going to look maybe different than what you're maybe familiar with from other classes. So, hey, let's go. First of all, I believe a few things about education. Actually, I believe two. I'm a simple guy. I believe what makes good teaching good is, number one, is active learning. If students are not learning actively, they're not a participant in education as opposed to passive, right? Then it doesn't work. Number two, I believe in this word here. You know, as a Christian, you know, the gospel, the Bible, if you will, is God's, story of, redeeming relationships with us that was lost in the garden. And I know that matters, and what makes good teaching good, regardless of where you're at, is relationships. My students, your kids, are not going to care what I know until they know that I care. And I hope that they will hear that from me, they will, over the course of the year. Related to that, I also believe that all students can learn. In fact, there's a famous educator who he said that he believed that 95% of all students can learn anything given enough time and support. And so to that end, I'm going to be teaching using a method called mastery learning, right? Because people learn sometimes some people, it takes longer to learn things. And if your sons in my class are taking chemistry or physics, and chemistry and physics tend to be hard subjects, and maybe if you remember your high school chemistry and physics class, college, whatever, you know that it's not always the easiest subject. And to that end, I'm going to be using a method called mastery learning. And mastery learning is not a new idea. It's been around a long time. Here's actually the definition of mastery learning. It says that mastery learning is an approach to classroom instruction that empowers every student at every level to progress with confidence. Maybe you've been in that class where you got stuck and you didn't know what to do. Well, the beauty of mastery is, well, let's keep reading. I'm going to use flexible pacing to guide your student through a cyclic process. I'll show you the process in a minute, which helps them to demonstrate knowledge and whatnot, but I'll give them feedback. But here's the key idea, is that they're only going to move on until they learn what they've been doing. Now, you're saying, well, how does that work? All right, here's the deal. Mastery learning's been around for a long, long time. Here's actually that mastery learning cycle. Basically, they're going to go through a process of learning, and then they get to a certain spot, they're going to take an assessment, a test. They're going to take this test, and if they pass the test, they move on. If not, they're going to get some help or mediation, and what's actually going to happen is they're going to circle back and retake the test. So if they fail the test, which is defined as an 80% or more, then they will have to pass it before they move on. It's actually been around for a long time. If you think back, I'm right here. It's been a long time. When you have to pass the driving test before you can actually get a driver's license. If you're a lawyer, you've got to pass the boards before you can become a lawyer. And if you fail, then you take it over. So that's basically the gist of mastery. Your students are going to go through a cyclical process, the one here. And what they're going to do is they're going to get the end of a unit. We call them levels. When they get to the end of a level, they're going to take the test. And if they pass, they can move on. If they don't, they don't. And that's basically the big idea. I'm going to sort of insist that your students learn. When they first hear this, they don't believe it. Like, wait, I can take the test the second time? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And by the way, the high score wins. If they get a higher score the second time, then they get to keep the high score. If they get a lower score, maybe say they passed the test the first time, they got an 82, but they're that kid, and they want to take it again, and they get an 81, they keep the 82. High score wins, in my mind. So, because I believe that all students can learn given enough time and support. The goal is for them to learn. The goal is for them to learn. Now, this class has also got a twist, which I'll call it the flipped twist. So you may have heard of flipped learning. Basically, in a crazy quick nutshell, flipped learning, when I taught in a standard way for many, many years, I stood up and did the lecture thing. I kind of what I'm doing in the video right now. I did the lecture thing, and the students then, that's the stuff on the bottom of this. This is some Bloom's taxonomy. Some cat developed this, levels of cognition. And then at the top, I sent my students home to apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. But the idea of flipped actually is you flip this thing on its end, and what happens is the students they'll still get exposure to the content through like these cheesy videos like the one you're watching right now, or through some readings that they'll do. And then they're going to come to class and they're going to do the hard stuff. You see, the beauty of the flipped piece is the hard parts, the hard cognitive things, those difficult chemistry and physics problems that they're going to be doing. They're going to be doing those in class with me there. My guess is you forgot your high school chemistry. And when your kid comes home with their high school chemistry physics problem and they're like, hey, Dad, can you help me? You're going to say, yeah, no. I can't do it. Maybe 20 years ago. But I can't do it. So I'm kind of an expert on chemistry and physics. I can help your kids. So I want them to get stuck in class, where if they're stuck, I can help. That's the big idea. Actually, as I've thought this through, I actually think that the way I want to spend most of my class time is in the middle sections of this levels of cognition thing, this Bloom's taxonomy thing. That's where we're going to spend most of our class time. I don't think it's realistic to go here. So that's the gist of a master class. Your kids are going to get in class. I'm going to provide support. If they fail, I'm going to provide more support, and I'm going to make them do it over, which at some level, by the way, might frustrate your kids. At first, they love the idea, I can retake the test, but then they realize that's going to require them to spend extra time with me. And sometimes they don't want to hang out with me. I don't need some old guy. But they're going to get that extra help and support so they can learn this stuff. And you know, my experience over years and years and years of teaching, this is now my 36th, 7th year in education. So I've been around the block a couple of years. And you know, chemistry and physics has always been a hard class, and students have always struggled. But what I have seen is that when I moved to this mastery learning model, the percentage of students who really struggle is significantly lower. Now, I want to apologize up front. Maybe some of your students will still struggle, okay? If that's the case, the beauty is I'm here to support them. And sometimes they might say, hey, I can't learn with this master model. And respectfully, what I usually discover is what happens is that they're just that kid who really struggles with the content. Like, used to be like 20, 30% of my students would really deeply struggle with the content back in the day. Now it's, you know, maybe 1 or 2 kids in a class. And if you're that parent who has that kid who's really struggling, the beauty is I've got so much more time. Since I'm not spending any time doing the lecture thing, at least in front of class, the beauty is that gives me much, much more time to be with your student, to help them through the difficult parts of comprehension. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm glad to chat. Here's my email address. Whatever, hang out, talk with you. We'll do whatever you need. Also, I'll be sending, I'm not sure I can promise weekly, but I started this last year, is where I send home kind of a quick 1-minute video clip where I just reflect on what happened last week, and usually I do this on a Friday, and then what to expect the following week, just to kind of keep you involved. At least in chemistry, not as much in physics, but in chemistry, I'll have some take-home experiments. So there'll be some experiments the students will be doing at home. Lastly, I want to say I would highly encourage you to get what I call a composition book for them. They've got a specific way they're going to keep track of their notes. It's kind of a science notebook thing. I really encourage you to have them on the first day. So if you're watching this ahead of time, I would really think that'd be awesome if they had that before they walked in the door. Super awesome. So yeah, hey, reach out to me, John Bergmann, the weird chemistry teacher, physics guy. We'll talk later.